Standing by, and of course we'll get some analysis as well as updates on the scoreboard at the moment, as well as chatting to some of those political parties that are there at the moment. So good evening then to you, Tepi.
Thanks a lot, Flo, and a very good evening once again from Pretoria, the Results Operations Centre of the IEC. It's been a day of high drama, as you've seen it play out here at the IEC Results Operations Centre, especially when it comes to the credibility of the vote. The IEC eventually saying that, of course, it's going to audit the results. A sample has been put out, and they'll come back to us and tell us about that. Of course, the parties looking at the leaderboard very, very intently. We're looking at the Western Cape now. As you can see, 93.29% of the results have been captured. And just looking at the district map here, you can see what is outstanding is this part here. This is the city of Cape Town, which my resident analysts say here's a large swath of the population that is voting. So we'll find out more about that in just a moment. But the whole point is just to let you know what it is that we'll be looking at when we come back. The fight for seats in the big metros. Let's find out now from Simpiwe what else we're looking at.
Well, thank you, Sapiso, and a very good evening to you, and a warm welcome to the floor of the IEC at the Results Operations Centre, coming to you live from Pretoria. The mood on the floor is quite an electric one. Quite a bigger number of the media contingent has now settled on the floor, speaking to the various political parties to get their views as to how their parties are faring as according to the leaderboard. Now, I'm joined by the Secretary General for the African Content Movement, Mr. Romeo Ramuwada. A very good evening to you, Romeo. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
No, thank you very much. Good evening to you and your listeners, your viewers. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Now, your party has just scored 2,508 votes. Now, that's a far cry from the kind of promises that your leader, Hlaudu Motsoeneng, has made, that he will definitely unseat President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And obviously, the president, like any other leader of the party, when we campaign, you don't just campaign to become in opposition, you campaign to become the next government. Yeah, and the president has pushed all the leaders of the party around the country to work very, very hard, including our volunteers. So we work very hard. So that's why us as the African Content Movement, these results that are here, we don't understand these results. We don't know where they come from. That's why together with the other opposition parties, we have indicated that we are not accepting these rigged results because from the start of the results we have seen irregularities in terms of how certain parties have been getting votes, and we are saying it's practically impossible. We've got a lot of members as a party, more than registered, more than 50,000 in our offices, so there is no way that we are going to get 2,000 votes, and we've been working the ground day in and day out. So we have lodged complaints, of course, yes, with the IEC, because we have indicated that there is a lot of irregularities. And as the ACM and other political parties, we realized that the IEC was not attending to our issues. Until today, we reached the final point where we said that no, enough is enough. We are not here to escort any other parties. We are here representing our members. And our members who have voted for the ACM, they are probably watching right now. They are also surprised what is happening. Because really this 2,000 is not the results that the party is supposed to get here.
I had a brief chat with you off camera, and I do get the sense that you are of the view that had it not been for these alleged irregularities on the part of the IEC, then you would have scored a 2/3 majority.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm of the view that yes, if it wasn't of the irregularities of the IEC, the ACM would have done very, very well. Because we know there's been ballot papers that have been going around with people in their cars, and there are people who are voting, like in the Northwest, our leaders that side have reported that there are people who are voting with more than 3-4 ballot papers. We know that there are people who voted more than twice across the country.
Do you have proof? Do you have video evidence, photographs, or documentary evidence of this?
Yes, we have. We are very confident that we are going to win this particular case because we do have proof. as the opposition parties, we are more than 30 parties. We are not crazy. We cannot just say we don't accept these results. We don't have a problem with any party that is doing well, but we have proofs. We have receipts, slips of those people who have voted more than once. In fact, even in the social media, the proof is there. And we do have pictures, we do have videos of some of the officials of the IEC filling the ballot papers after the elections. So we are saying as the ACM, these elections are very questionable and we are going to challenge them without apologizing or fear, because we are a political party. We are not here to escort any party. In fact, we are not even intimidated by any party, because we believe that we've got members. We run rallies and our members are there. We are not running a campaign on Facebook. We are going door to door. We are engaging our people. So we are not a party that is just going to say we accept what we are given. We are saying these particular results must be verified by an independent auditor. We need to know how many people have been registered to vote, how many have been scanned, and also the other.
So where to from here? What is it that you're going to do from here?
What we have done already as the opposition parties that represent an agenda to change the lives of African people, we have already written a letter to the IEC. We have told the IEC that we are giving them until tomorrow, that we are demanding that we get an independent auditor. These results must be audited, and also we're demanding a rerun of the elections. Yes, because we believe South African democracy mustn't be on paper and on TV and radio. It must be on the ground. So we're demanding that South Africans must be allowed to elect the government of their choice.
Okay, Romeo, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. And I'm going to invite in Soli Malatsi, the national spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance. That was Romeo Ramuwada. He is the Secretary General of the African Content Movement. Now, if you'll recall that the leader of this party, promised that he'll definitely garner a 2/3 majority and unseat President Cyril Ramaphosa and change his address from whatever it is now to the union buildings. Now, the party has just scored 2,507 votes. Let me also invite the Freedom Front, Mr. Jaco Mulder from the Freedom Front Plus. Gentlemen, a very good... Oh, it's actually Philip van Staden. All right, I beg your pardon. A very good evening to you and welcome.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome, Mr. Staden.
A very good evening.
All right. Now, I'm going to start with you, the Democratic Alliance, Mr. van Staden, 2,456,350. How do you feel? What's your impression of this?
Well, you can see our numbers of 278,000. If you look at the voting stations, more than 88 voting stations with Freedom Front Plus has actually won throughout the Northern Province and some parts of Gauteng. It's interesting to see that we as a Freedom Front bite some chunks of the DA voters there. There's many factors to it. We will see tomorrow when the Tshwane Metro come out and parts of Ekurhuleni and Mogale City and Johannesburg as well. We've picked up already from our party agents last night when some of the Tshwane Metro results came through to us via SMS. But where some videos where the DA was big in charge in 2014, we've actually taken over that video. But that results we're still busy calculating, and that will be shown tomorrow. So that's a very interesting factor. The other factor on that matter is that some people feel that some policies in the DA is not for them anymore. They feel alienated, and then they went back to the Freedom Front Plus, where they actually started in 1994, went to the DA, and they went back to us in this election.
Okay, Soli, I would like your reaction in just a moment. But before I go to Soli, Mr. Morne Mulder, the Western Cape leader of the Freedom Front Plus, has attributed such a meteoric rise to the fact that more minorities have been accommodated. Which are these minorities?
Well, it's across the board. You can see our votes is not coming from whites only. It's from Indians, Coloureds, all minority groups we're getting votes from. But I think the big chunks we're biting off from the DA, especially the Pretoria area, if you're going to look at the Pretoria Mood area, is especially Afrikaners who went after 94's election to the DA and come back home now.
So let me bring into this conversation. He's saying that most of the members, he's attributed the meteoric rise of the Freedom Front Plus to the fact that most of the DA members have defected from the party to the Freedom Front Plus as a result of bullying tactics about the DA.
Bullying tactics, I would stand to be convinced about that. I think what we are seeing is that, as part of global trends towards a shift towards movements and organizations that mobilize largely on racial nationalism and racially polarizing society, that there is an uprise of those movements, either on the right-hand side with Freedom Front or on the left with movements such as PLF and the Land Party. And we have chosen to stay in the middle because we believe in building this rainbow nation, and our electoral offer was about uniting South Africans. You know, if that means in the process of doing so there are certain prices that we have to pay as part of growth, I think it is necessary in order to remain loyal to the vision of building one South Africa for all that resembles the rainbow nation that the democratic order brought to South Africa.
I was listening to an interview earlier on radio by Mr. Jaco Mulder, who is saying that the DA has now lost the plot. I mean, they have now adopted a more populist approach. They don't have ideas anymore.
I think that's complete nonsense. I mean, you can see based on the number of votes and the fact that we've still retained the Western Cape that our message still has broader appeal in society, and the fact that we're continuing to grow in areas where we didn't have such growth, particularly amongst black South Africans, and that we are not just a party for one race. We are a party for white South Africans, we are a party for Indian South Africans, we are a party for black South Africans, and we are a home for all those South Africans that remain committed to building this rainbow nation. And it's because of our ideas and what we stand for that South Africans are resonating with our message. We went into this election with 5 key promises of fighting corruption, of making sure that we'll ultimately deliver a home in every job. And these are ideas that resonate with South Africans because they speak to the real challenges that South Africans are facing.
Well, we all know that the Democratic Alliance let go of Patricia de Lille, but she's not doing so bad after all, because she's now got 68,622,000 votes on the national scale. Does the DA regret this?
Look, Ms. de Lille made her choices and she has to live with the choices that she has made. If you see our results in the Western Cape and compare it with what good got, you can see that the impact is too minuscule to even call it a contributory factor. We are just grateful that in the Western Cape we've got this opportunity again of governing through an outright majority so that we can continue with our program of good governance there.
What's your impression of the overall voting process? I mean, there's been allegations of rigging by the IEC and irregularities.
Yeah, since yesterday morning we have received a lot of complaints from people on ground level at voting stations. Scanner machines not working, ballot papers not delivered in time, voting stations open 2 hours late, ballot boxes found on the info at the Cullinan and off-ramp, and we submitted those complaints to the IEC, and by lunchtime yesterday afternoon, and most of 80% of that was resolved. We're still waiting to hear about the matter with ballot boxes which was found on the info Cullinan off-ramp. We're still following up on that. We haven't received an answer yet from the IEC. The Freedom Front Plus stand of view on this matter is all these allegations must be investigated. Investigations must be launched because if investigations is not been launched, people will start saying, like the smaller parties earlier today, but said this election is not free and fair. Freedom Front Plus said, let's investigate the matters.
You know, Philip, I'm more than tempted to call the land issue the elephant in the room, because some of the political pundits have been saying that the reason that your party is doing so well is because of the massive support from especially the white farmers. Is that the case?
Well, if you look at where we had to win the VDs across the country, it's not only farmers. Some of those VDs, most of those VDs actually are in the cities. But it's not only about the land expropriation without compensation that the people were streaming to us. As I said earlier, some policies of the DA, which some people wasn't more relaxed now and came back home with us. And we have said in our manifesto that we want to build a better South Africa for all who lived in it. We said we're going to reduce the cabinet from 35 members to 16 members. And we said we're going to do the infrastructure, the education, all those matters which is putting South Africa in a diarrhea. We're going to fix, and we said it in our manifesto. And the people liked what we said in the manifesto, and that we have put in the manifesto, we're going to take into a coalition government, whether it's on national level or in provincial level.
Now, the DA is one of the parties that lodged complaints with the IEC. What are some of these complaints and alleged irregularities?
Well, we have brought to the attention of the IEC the irregularities that were commonly reported through the course of yesterday. Instances such as, suspicions of double or multiple voting as a result of people not being marked off, people who had registered at one particular voting station but ended up voting at another station, not getting the forms that they needed to fill in order for them to vote there. And we have brought all of this to the IEC, and through engagements in the parliament, in the multi-party liaison committee yesterday and today, we had made a submission for an audit. We had called for a full audit. The IEC concluded that they would do an audit of a sample of those complaints. We still believe that that is a reasonable intervention, and contrary to the steps that's being recommended and propagated by the other parties, we believe that as a party that proposed for the audit in good faith, it is necessary to give that process a chance of producing an outcome so that we can interrogate the outcome and satisfy ourselves that it is consistent with the corrective measures that the IEC needed to institute, because ultimately we don't want this election to have any risk associated with it.
But do you have any proof? Do you have your own proof that you can present to the IEC, or are you simply relying on the evidence that has been brought forward by the other parties?
No. We have submitted our own proof where we have gathered it in collaboration with our party agents, who are the individuals that have brought these cases to us, and we have logged them through the online system that the IEC had running during the course of the day yesterday. So that is the evidence that we have submitted to the IEC, and that is what has to now compelled the IEC to reach a conclusion that an audit is necessary.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to let you go. Solly Malatsi, the DA spokesperson, and as well as Philip van Staden. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm going to let you go for now. All right, that was the national spokesperson of the Democratic Alliance, Solly Malatsi, speaking to us about how the party has performed, and as well as the Gauteng leader of the Freedom Front Plus, Mr. Philip van Staden, just reacting to how the party has fared. I mean, looking at the scores right now, the party has now scored 279,221, and it is surprise to everyone because of this meteoric rise, because it's now the fourth largest party, if these figures are anything to go by. 10,931,882 votes have been counted so far. Well, on the issue of the land, well, he's saying that that's not the main reason why the party is doing so well, because in some of the areas where there aren't so many farm workers, or rather white farmers, well, the party is doing just as well. And then on the issue of whether the Freedom Front is actually doing well as a result of some of the DA members who've defected, he's saying that is absolute nonsense. Well, that was Mr. Philip van Staden, and as well as Solly Malatsi. We'll be speaking to some more parties as the vote counting process is in progress. But for now, Tsepiso, I'm going to hand it back to you.
All right.